Okay, I think we'll get started. I'm sure the others that have registered will join us momentarily, but just to keep things on track. Welcome to today's session. I believe this is the 5th of our series of 6 webinars for producers and stakeholders that we've been offering since December. And so today we're going to focus on our agriculture education efforts. Just a couple of housekeeping things to keep in mind before we get started. Just remind everyone to please mute your microphone and interact by using the chat function on the bottom of your toolbar. Our communications coordinator, Joey, is going to man that chat and will answer your questions at the end of the session. And if you've called into the meeting via a phone number, if you could provide us with your name, that would be great. And as mentioned, we'll have a Q&A at the end. And also just note that our session is being recorded. So for anyone that's missed it, we've been doing this all along, and you can find the recorded sessions, past and present, on the producer portal of our website under the news section. Okay. So we're going to tag team today's presentation or today's webinar. There's myself, Manager of Public Relations and Consumer Marketing. My name is Susan Riese. I think many of you know me by now. We're also joined by Kristen Matwychuk, the Acting Manager of the Bruce D. Campbell Farm and Food Discovery Center. And Sue Clayton is joining us as well, the Executive Director of Agriculture in the Classroom, Manitoba. So we're each going to give you a bit of an overview with respect to our ag education efforts and ag literacy efforts. So Manitoba Pork has been participating in ag events and contributing to the development of educational resources for a long time, since probably goes back as far as when we first became a council. And over the years, as more Manitobans have become further removed from the farm and the volume and number of detractor voices have increased, so too have our efforts in providing an accurate perspective and accounting of pork production in Manitoba. Prior to COVID, of course, we participated in all kinds of in-person ag events, things like Discover Agriculture in the City, which takes place at the Forks Market, Canadian Ag Literacy Month, Amazing Agriculture Adventure in Winnipeg and Brandon, Open Farm Day, which we usually participate in at the Farm and Food Discovery Center. We've also been part of live animal exhibits like the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair, and we've participated in a number of teacher and or student workshops over the years, as well as many other one-off opportunities that have come our way. Fast forward to 2020, where like so many other organizations, we had to pivot and make some changes to our programming and how we reach out to teachers, students, and the general public. We decided to develop some new online resources. So one of the first projects that we undertook was the development of a series of 8 different activity sheets, which FFDC and Ag in the Classroom have been graciously helping to promote. And there's something here for everyone on a variety of topics. We've got a word search, a word match, a maze, a word jumble, a crossword, connect the dots, and then the fill in the blank nutrient cycle activity that should be showing up on your screen. And you can find all these resources if you're interested on the community portal of our website under resources, or you can simply click at the bottom of the community homepage to access those. We also developed 3 2-minute educational videos on a few different topics. They're only 2 minutes in length. And what we tried to do with these is to grab content from other projects to reduce the overall production costs. So we've got one on barn life that talks about why we raise pigs indoors, GPS technology on the farm when it comes to manure application, and also one on the nutrient cycle. And then, of course, we're always adding images, content, and video to specific pages on our website under the community portal. Of course, this goes kind of without saying, but we wouldn't be nearly as effective in our efforts if it weren't for our longstanding partnerships with the Farm and Food Discovery Center and agriculture in the classroom. FFDC, as many of you may recall, opened in fall 2011, so 10 years at this. And back then, Manitoba Pork was a significant financial contributor towards the creation of this one-of-a-kind facility. For us, I think this has been one of the best investments we have made over the years. Not only does it give visitors the opportunity to learn about agricultural practices in Manitoba through interactive displays, but it also gives them a chance to peek into the windows of a real working hog barn. One of the more exciting projects that we've been working on for the last couple of years is the refurbishment of the signage at the Farm and Food Discovery Center. So the wall that we're showing you here now contains environmental messaging. We took a lot of it and adapted a lot of it from our We Are Part of the Solution campaign. Previously, that wall wasn't super well utilized and wasn't very engaging. So we basically took over that space and made it all about the environment. Also adding an interactive little pig poop tic-tac-toe game for the little kids. And it's a much brighter exhibit than it was previously. I think we started that one in about 2018, 2019 is when this signage went in. And then last year we started on the rest of the exhibit, and we've been doing this in 3 phases. So phase 1 started with new headers over the different windows into the different barns, as well as we utilized some of the space on the red wall to the left by adding some Did You Know content, which specifically tried to address questions that visitors would typically have when they would come into the exhibit. So also trying to help make it a bit more of a self-guiding display, especially when FFDC staff aren't available to walk people through the exhibit one-on-one. Phase 2 has been redoing all of the collages that are on the wall amongst some of the other signage. So here we've got a before and after shot. Before on the left, you can see what it looked like. And then the new signage is shown on the right. And what we've tried to do here is we've blended our branding and our colors in with that of FFDC. So I think it gives the whole exhibit a nice pop of color with the green and the blue and the red. Here's a picture of an install that recently took place. And just to help kind of stretch producer dollars, we tried to keep the existing boards as much as we could and just basically reskin them. So they've just applied new graphics over the boards that were already there, which obviously meant tons of measuring and checking back and forth and moving things around visually to make sure that our new images and content fit on the dimensions of the existing board. So it's taking a little longer to roll this out than we had expected, but it was also a lot more work than I think anybody could have expected as well. And here's a photo of just a few more of the signs. There is no window into the feeder barn currently, but we wanted to complete the production cycle by dedicating a sign to that. The one in the middle, what's the word in the barn, is actually an interactive activity. You can flip up the doors of the definitions that are on the front to reveal the word that corresponds to the clue. And that used to be a nutrition label, which wasn't overly interesting. So we're hoping that this adds a little bit more interest to the exhibit. And then we also utilized the back of an emergency exit door from the farrowing barn and covered it with a decal to show how fast pigs grow, because that seems to be a popular question that, that kids ask. We have another phase 3, that's going to be installed in the next few weeks. We're just finalizing the artwork for that. And that consists of a handful of signs that will be located on a wall dedicated to processing. So hopefully by first week of March, we'll be fully finished doing the installations. Some of the other projects that I wanted to mention that we've helped support over the years that the center has been in existence is we provided some funding for a pressurized hot water cleaning system to help keep the pens clean. There's been an installation of a two-way intercom speaker system where visitors can ask questions of whomever might be working in the barn. We relocated some exhaust fans to help reduce odor. And then we also participated in agricultural career profiles. Both Janelle and Laurel from our office participated in those. We produced some where it's made videos, one on farmers making a farmer sausage and the other one of bacon. And those play on a screen at the center, and they just keep rotating through with others that have been created. And then we also, from time to time, invest some dollars in enhancing the well-being of the animals at the Discovery Center. We helped fund some electronic sow feeders and actually also got some government funding for that. And recently, or I think just within the last week, we're supposed to be starting on a project where we're installing wireless activators for the fairing feeders. I'm told that this is new state-of-the-art technology and that it will better meet the sows' nutrition demands. So that's very exciting. And talking about technology on the farm is cool, and it's going to be fun to be able to highlight that once those are in. And then, of course, we've also worked with Ag in the Classroom Manitoba over the years, another excellent partner to have. Ag in the Classroom has been around for over 30 years, delivering quality ag literacy programming into the classroom. Manitoba Pork has been a longtime sponsor. Currently, we're at the cultivator level, which I believe is the top level, and we're happy to continue to support them. We also, over the years, participated in the Made in Manitoba breakfasts. And just quite recently, I think last year was the first year we started doing this, putting some money into special projects. And one example is the Eat Well Exploring Canada's Food Guide resource. And there's some pork specific information that has been incorporated into that. So pressing forward for ag literacy, just a heads up on some future projects that we're working on. This year, we're looking to develop a couple of more videos, those short 2-minute videos, one on shelter belts and the other one on the protection of natural resources. And we'll probably add a couple of more activity sheets as well. And with Ag in the Classroom, we've got a few irons in the fire already. We're planning to roll out the Make It Pork Meal Kit this fall, which targets grades 7 and 8 home ec students. The educational videos I mentioned, we're going to try to find ways to work those into some curriculum linked learning. We're also helping develop a virtual AAA pork station. Looks like COVID might be around for a while. So this is, in the name of creating online resources, this is one of the things that we're looking to participate in. And then looking ahead to 2022, we're hoping to work with Ag in the Classroom on a Follow a Farmer video that is part of their programming. And we're planning to do the same with FFDC and look at what kind of a program we can develop specifically for kids when they come in with their teachers that focuses on the swine exhibit. So those are some of the things that Manitoba Pork has been doing on producers' behalf. Again, if you have any questions, please enter them into the chat. And I think what I'll do now is stop sharing my screen and then allow Kristen to present her little update on the Farm and Food Discovery Center.
Perfect. Thanks for that introduction, Susan. I just want to make sure you guys can see everything all right on the screen.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So thanks for inviting me to speak today. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the Farm Food Discovery Center does in terms of agriculture education as a whole, and also specifically with what we do related to pork. So our center is a one-of-a-kind hands-on public outreach and ag education center. There are a few different research stations in Canada and museums that do somewhat of a similar thing. However, we're the only one that does a system-wide approach at the moment. So we are showcasing agriculture from almost every variety in Manitoba, and do that with many partners. So we're located at the University of Manitoba's Glenlee Research Station, which is just outside of Glenlee, Manitoba, and is the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences Livestock Research Station. So our mandate at Farm and Food is to tell the story of where our food comes from, including the role of farming, leading edge research, food production, environmental stewardship, animal care, nutrition, and food safety. And so we do that by being open to the public, but also hosting field trips. So if general public comes to Farm and Food, when we're open, they can come and just explore the exhibit space. So that's where we actually have the windows into the hog barn, and they can kind of self-guide through a tour of the hog barn and the other interactive exhibits we have. And if we have staff available, we'll offer a guided tour so that they can get kind of all that information and some extras that aren't on the signs. But we also do curriculum linked programming for schools. And that's kind of our biggest audience right now, is the field trips that come through Farm and Food. So we do this with various partners. These are just the ones that we worked with within the past year. So with the commodity boards, that's where we're getting all of our information. So we're kind of the vehicle to share the story of how farming happens in Manitoba and in Canada. So we get that information from the commodity groups, make sure that it's actually accurate and representative of Manitoba, and then deliver that to the public in a way that they can understand, whether it's kindergarten all the way to an adult or a government group that's coming. We also work with a few other ag education groups. So a relatively new one is the Manitoba Agriculture and Food Knowledge Exchange. So that's a group from the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences working together with Manitoba Agriculture to share the information of the research that's going on in the faculty right now. And so they have both a portal for producers that has podcasts, infographics, lots of great information, but also one for consumers specifically related to the research. And so that's an area Farm and Food is working more on as well, is the outreach as it relates to research in the faculty. Right now we have that bigger focus on primary production and bring in a little bit of research information. So that's an area we're moving forward with Make Manitoba. And we also work with groups like Ag in the Classroom Manitoba and Canada, Farm to School, Emily and FanLit, which is food and nutrition literacy, to kind of share resources, share information, and promote one another's resources that we have. So since we opened in 2011, we're coming up on our 10th anniversary in the fall. We've had about just over 54,000 visitors come through, and it's been a fairly steady incline. It started at about 2,000 that first year, just that first few months. And then 2019, we got over 8,000 visitors that year. And then 2020, of course, with COVID, had a steep drop off. But we're hoping that once things are kind of back to normal, perhaps by 2022, we'll be able to get back on that trajectory of close to 10,000 a year visitors. And so the vast majority are school groups coming through on that curriculum linked field trips, followed by general public. And so general public can either come on their own, so a drop-in, or they'll be attending an event like Open Farm Day or our other summer family fun events that we have that has some kind of activity as well as seeing into the hog barn. So anyone who visits Farm and Food will get to see into the hog barn because it's part of that initial building that we have. We also have a dairy barn, but only groups that pre-book tours or programs go out to the dairy barn because it's in a separate building. 16% was community groups, so 4-H, Girl Guides, Scouts, daycares, that kind of falls into that category. 10% university guests and 5% industry. So we really have a general public audience between the school groups and just the general public category. That's the majority of people that are coming through that we're speaking with. So our programs, we offer 11 curriculum linked programs, and each of them connect specifically to some kind of linkage in what the teachers have to deliver as part of their courses that they're giving. So about 57% of the programs we offer are to Winnipeg schools, and the other 43 are other schools within Manitoba. And as we've gone through the years, we've seen a bigger shift to closer to a 50-50 range. When we first started, it was mostly Winnipeg, and now we're seeing a lot more rural schools come, which is awesome. And of the school groups, 55% are actually senior year, so grade 9 to 12, and the vast majority of that, 45%, is grade 10. And that's because in grade 10, they have a geography course called Food from the Land, and that has kind of the most obvious connection to agriculture, so those teachers come easily. We're working in the next couple of years to expand how we connect to the curriculum in middle and early years so that we can have a bigger audience in those groups. Now, 2020, of course, provided an interesting set of circumstances for us. We closed mid-March until mid-July. And during that time, we had to switch gears to make sure we were still meeting our mandate, but doing so in an environment where we were closed. So we switched to offering online programming for free that was kind of aimed to teachers and to parents that were now helping their kids learn from home. And so we did that by taking 34 resources, most of which we already had, some were new, and adapting it to an online program, and then also highlighting and promoting some of our partners' resources, so kind of amplifying their message as well. So it was a total of just over 80 resources that went out, and we had an incredible reception for it. We've never had a social media campaign that successful. Because honestly, that wasn't our realm. Our realm was always come to Farm and Food Discovery Center, see the animals, because that's such a unique thing. But when you can't do that, you have to adjust. And so it's been an interesting year having to do that, but we were able to do so successfully. And now we'll continue to have somewhat of an online presence when necessary, and also just going forward because we had such a boost with our social media. Now, some of the programs, about 12 of the resources were actually pork related. So pigtails, very popular one from Manitoba Pork. Our virtual tour included the tour of the hog barn. We created some different coloring sheets that had to do with pigs. We promoted, of course, our Where It's Made videos for both pork, for bacon and farmer sausage, and created an accompanying resource for schools, and then had a couple short videos like this pig bath time video that all were very well received. So when people come to Farm and Food, we get a lot of different questions. Some are difficult, but this kind of narrows down the most common questions we get. So the vast majority of people, like I said, are high school students, and of that grade 10, so that's that 15, 16-year-old age. But regardless of age, the majority of people who come have never been to a hog farm. They haven't heard much of anything in terms of accurate information. So they just kind of want to know the basics. Do animals get to go outside? They see them in an indoor barn, so they want to know, do they get to go outside? Do farmers care for the animals that they raise? How long do they live, or how old are they? Why are they in a pen? And so normally they'll say that when looking into the farrowing barn. So it's typically about a farrowing crate. How is bacon, ham, or sausage made? Or, where do the cuts of meat come from? Which we're creating a new sign on that. So I'm excited for that with Manitoba Pork. Another big one is, what does the technology do? And so we have kind of two approaches to answering this question with both exhibits and when we're talking to the public, because this younger generation loves technology and they think it's so cool and they want to hear all the benefits and kind of understand it. And then we have an older generation who tends to think, technology is bad, it's taking jobs away, and we don't want to go towards technology. So it's an interesting kind of balance that we have between the two questions, but that's definitely a big one, that people want to know, what is the technology doing and what's the benefits of that technology. They also want to know, how big are the animals, how quickly do they grow? What is the environmental impact? What are changes to sustainability is a big category we have, especially with that grade 10 age. They're getting very conscious of environmental impact. And the biggest one that we get absolutely every single tour, I think one person asks, can I take one home or can I cuddle one? Which leads us into the question, well, why can't I go into the barn and take one home? So with these questions in mind, we've worked closely with Manitoba Pork on developing the message we provide, but also the signage, even the interactive activities, and eventually a program we're developing that actually answers what people want to know. So these are the specific questions. And of course, we get interesting ones. I had I think a 6-year-old, I believe she was, asking me, how does the meat get off the pig? Or, various questions. Oh, why is the butt so weird when looking at the boar from behind? So looking at the testicles. So it's an interesting environment being at Farm and Food and having windows right into the hog barn and seeing, live in person what's happening. But there's awesome benefits. I think 2 or 3 years ago, Open Farm Day, people got to see the pig's farrow right in front of them. Like, it happened perfect time in Open Farm Day, and you can't really get that anywhere else. So we're really happy to be sharing that information and telling your story to the people that come through Farm and Food. So we have some projects in development, and Susan mentioned these already. So the development of a hands-on activity that can go with curriculum-based program, because right now we have the exhibits of pork, and people see that every single time they come through, but we don't have much in terms of actual programming we're delivering for our field trips. So that's a big priority we have. And then also the installation of the wireless activators for the farrowing feeders. So few projects we're looking forward to continuing to work with Manitoba Pork on and continuing to foster that partnership. So that's all I had to contribute kind of as an update from Farm and Food. I'll stop sharing my screen now and pass it back to you, Susan.
Great, that was awesome. Thank you very much for that update, Kristen. Appreciate that. Next up, we have Sue Clayton from Ag in the Classroom. Sue, are you ready to share?
I'm ready to go. It says my
Excellent.
video can't start. Okay, now I can. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, let me just try and share my screen and see if that works. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you. It was nice to hear Kristen's update too. Hi, Kristen. So we do a lot of work together. So it was nice to hear what's happening at FFDC right now. So thank you, Susan, for inviting me to talk to your producer group about what we're doing with ag education, what happened last year, especially. So I just wanted to cover a little bit off. I don't have very many slides, but I'll just go over a few things. So in 2019, which is our last annual report, our reach was over 37,000 students in 266 schools with 883 volunteers. So you can tell we're a hugely volunteer-driven organization. And many of you know that because Manitoba Pork producers are big volunteers for us. In 2020, of course, we don't have our stats. We're just getting put together for our annual report. Obviously, our numbers will be lower, no doubt, but much the same as FFDC, where we really picked up huge in the online area. So for those of you that don't know a lot about us, we are governed by a 15-member volunteer board, and our current president of our board is Laurel Lyons, who is one of your staff. And so Laurel's been on our board for a few years and has been a huge supporter of ag education. So just for where our board has set our vision, and of course our vision, we envision a future where every student knows where and how their food is grown, that the teachers have the tools they need, that every voter understands the industry, and every consumer has trust in how their food is grown. And that's really our North Star goal at Ag in the Classroom Manitoba, is that we reach every classroom in Manitoba eventually, and that those students that graduate from grade 12 are considered agricultural literate citizens. And what we mean by that is basically, what's on the screen here is that when they graduate, they understand how their food was grown. They understand the importance of the industry in Manitoba, that 1 in 8 jobs in Canada are directly related to agriculture. And whether they choose to enter our industry or not, that's fine. We, of course, want them to consider careers in the ag sector. But if they don't, at least they understand the importance of the industry and they support it When they go to the grocery store, they understand what the labels mean. And when they go to vote, both provincially and federally, they understand the importance of agriculture to our province and to our country. So those are our long-term goals. Okay, it's not wanting to advance. Just give me a second here. Okay. Sorry, guys. Maybe I'm trying to do it too quickly. So for resources, programs, or activities are how we are achieving those goals. And I spoke at your meeting a couple of years ago and talked about our pillars of agricultural literacy, and that's definitely what we're using to determine, to make sure that we have ag education components and under all 6 pillars. And so here are just a few of our classroom resources. One of them that's shown here is COVID-19 and Canada's food supply. So that was obviously one that was developed this spring. And so we developed some COVID specific resources immediately that were hugely popular with teachers. And all of our programs going forward will be considered hybrid programs. So many of you have volunteered at our Amazing Agriculture Adventure, which is at the Glenlee Research Station, the Farm and Food Discovery Center, and also at Richardson's Calburn Farm. And we also have a AAA program that runs in Brandon and every second year in Russell. So that program, as well as Canadian Agriculture Literacy Month in March, and all those types of programs that we require volunteers for. And we've had kids physically come out to field trips, or we've physically gone into the classroom. Of course, with COVID, that changed everything, and we were already thinking along these lines and planning for it, because if we want to be in every classroom with 7 staff, there's no way we can be in every classroom in the province. So we're doing some development of online programs that will run at the same time that we're running our in-person programs. So classrooms in Churchill or the PA could participate in Manitoba Ag Days program in Brandon, or AAA Winnipeg, but without actually having to physically be there. One of our programs that we're running that Susan mentioned in 2021, we're going to pilot AAA virtual program, and Manitoba Pork will have a station, we'll do a Manitoba Pork farm tour. And that's being done through one of our partners, Penner Farm Services, who is now AgriHub. They're gonna do a farm tour for us and film it with Craig at Henneverich Farms in southern Manitoba. And so they're going to do a pork video, and we're hoping to create a kit working with Susan and Laurel that can be sent into the classroom, so kids still have those hands-on interactive activities. One of our programs, CALM, Canadian Agriculture Literacy Month, that's no longer going to be in person this year, obviously. We can't make it go back. But this, in 2020, we did get partway through CALM before we had to cancel. And so we had the Ag Minister and the Education Minister out in classrooms, and every March they declare it Canadian Agriculture Literacy Month in Manitoba. And they've been really supportive, both education and agriculture. And Susan mentioned Eat Well, which is a new resource that has been developed with Manitoba Pork's help. And the food guide is new, as you're all aware, and protein has a different spot in the food guide, and so we're making sure that pork is highlighted in there. We've also included one of your videos, the GPS video is included in the Eat Well resource, and so that's going to be piloted with grade 7 and 8 nutrition teachers in the next month. Okay, my apologies, I'm really having trouble advancing for some reason. Anyway, so during COVID, everything went virtual, and just like FFDC, it just went nuts, and the demand was through the roof. And we had people asking us during this, like, are you guys very busy? I guess now that you're not doing your programs, you have nothing to do. And we were off the rails busy, and still are actually, because now we're trying to plan all the 2 different levels of programming. So we saw a huge demand and a huge increase in our downloads. We're making sure that everything's parent friendly. So a lot of our things got rewritten, because everything we do is for teachers. Teachers is our target market, because they're massive influencers and they have a real impact on how students think and feel about agriculture. And as was already mentioned, it's a provincial mandate curriculum and education that teachers have total control over how they want that, how they express that curriculum, how they explain it in the classroom, and what examples they use. So they don't need to talk about agriculture if it's not part of the curriculum. And it really isn't in very many places. So we've found ways to weave it into all different grade levels. And so on our website, we included the Manitoba Pork activity sheets, and those have been really popular too. So just some comments from teachers. I love this one. My students were shocked that pigs don't eat hay. But yeah, so the teachers have really been supportive of what we do and love the resources. Here's some more comments. I'll leave that up for a second. So it's nice that we're kindergarten through grade 12, and our resources have been really popular in the high school as well. And of course, as the kids get older, we talk more and more about our careers. We start career conversations really young, but it's in a very simple way, and it gets a little more advanced as they get older. And Ag in the Classroom Canada, which is our national organization that's been around for about 5 years, they are doing a lot of work with careers, and so we're able to use the information that they gather and use that with our teachers in Manitoba. So really, I know I probably went too fast in some regards, but I wanted to keep track on time here. We love our partnership with Manitoba Pork Producers. That Susan and Laurel are just phenomenal to work with. We have a lot that we are working on this year, and I think Susan mentioned the Make It Pork meal kit that we're doing the teacher resource and the curriculum connections to go in that box. And we're wanting to incorporate more of your videos into curriculum linked resources. They won't get used the same way just sitting on a website, where if we can package it in a resource and hand it to a teacher and say, if you use this resource with your students and if you show this video, you're going to knock off these sections of the curriculum at this grade level in this unit that you have to knock off. We're working on the virtual AAA pork station, and then the Follow a Farmer program that Susan alluded to is a pilot that we're starting this fall with another different commodity group, and then we're wanting to involve Manitoba Pork in the second year of that. And that will be where we actually follow, we have classes follow farmers, and so there would be a couple of farmers that every month they're connecting with the class. So it's either a phone call or it's a video tour, video in their barn, or whatever it is. But each month, there's for 5 or 6 months, there'll be connection between that farmer and the classroom, and it will definitely link to curriculum, and it will showcase how Manitoba farmers are taking care of their animals and are raising them in a healthy, sustainable way. So I think it's something that we feel is going to be really valued by teachers. And so what Susan and Laurel and I are talking about how we're going to work on that in the future. But yeah, so if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions. But thank you again for your support and for including us today. And I will stop sharing.
That's great. Thank you very much, Sue, for giving us that update. We'll leave it now for anyone to ask any questions, if there are any. Again, feel free to type into the chat, and we'll just give that a minute or so in case there's any questions. In the meantime, I think I'll just kind of wrap up just by saying that that Manitoba Pork is committed to ag education. It is definitely a subject that comes up from our committee on a regular basis, and we're fully behind that, and we're so happy to be working with both FFDC and Ag in the Classroom to help get the word out. So thank you for everything that you do for us in that regard. I think we have 2 questions I believe Joey mentioned.
Yeah, there are 2 questions here. So the first one is towards Kristen from FFDC. How does FFDC get the general public out to the facility?
So because we're open to the public most of the time, 2019 and even, or 2020 and even now, it's going to be a little interesting because we're, only open for pre-booked. But we advertise mostly on social media, just that we are open and available. And so people can either drop in if they choose to, or they could pre-book a virtual tour with us, or a tour with us, so that we actually guide them through farm and food. So a lot of our marketing we do is kind of boots on the ground marketing. We're using our social media. We're relying on word of mouth to get information out there. And then we really host events to help boost that. So the biggest one is Open Farm Day. 2019 was the last open farm day we had, and we had over 900 people come in one day, and it's a free event. So that's kind of our biggest marketing day, because it costs no money. So people have nothing to lose by coming out. We kind of have our, best foot forward. We have a lot of different partners in that day. So they get to see the dairy barn, the hog barn. Normally Susan is there, and producers have been there to talk to people through the hog barn and actually have that farmer to consumer connection, which is great. And that's kind of how we get people to be introduced to farm and food. And then we find repeat customers that way. And that's even how we'll get teachers to come, is they'll come on this free day, check it out, have a conversation with us, and book going forward.
Our next question is for Sue and Ag in the Classroom. Is Ag in the Classroom able to affect or influence the provincial curriculum so that agriculture is more a part of the education system?
Yeah, and thank you, Joey. That's a question that we get asked quite a bit. We work with people in the Department of Education. We have curriculum specialists that we engage with, and they support us in what we do. But the reality of curriculum development is that often it's pan-Canadian or pan-Western Canadian for different subject matters. And so, provincial, like, teachers will be seconded from school divisions for years to work on just one curriculum, like say the social studies curriculum. It might be 4 years that a teacher leaves their spot in a school division and goes to the province to work on redoing that curriculum. So it takes years to make a new curriculum. And once that's in place, it's normally in place for 15, 20, 25 years, like a long time. So it's like trying to move a massive boat to get curriculum change to happen. But the way that we choose to do that is we're always in touch with the Department of Education, and we work with the minister and with his staff. And so whenever there's talk of curriculum change, then we get in there as I've just lost the word, but as a party of interest, and then you're able to go and make a presentation and request changes to curriculum and give your explanation of why. So that's how we're working with it, and we're just keeping open lines of communication, but it's a long process. And so the way that we're able to get in front of teachers is by just having the support of teachers in the province that tell their friends, and they see us on social media, they hear about the great things that we're doing, and more teachers every year are following us and getting our newsletters and getting all those links to all the programs. So that's the way we have to do it for now, because it's not technically, ag isn't really in the curriculum in very many places. So we have to create those opportunities ourselves.
Excellent. Okay, I don't see any further questions. So I just want to thank everyone again for participating today and joining us on this webinar. Just to give a plug for our last one that we have planned currently. It's on Tuesday, March the 2nd, again at 1:30. And this one is going to be about biosecurity initiatives and programming. So information on that will be going out shortly if you're so inclined to register for that. Keep warm, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to take them at any time. Stay warm.